Hello everybody from our tiki hut here in South Florida. Another beautiful day. I need to apologize up front. I'm a little bit late with this video, but that's because when I weighed myself on Wednesday morning, November 19th, which is why I call this the November 19th update, I had lost 3 pounds. Now some of you remember I had said I wanted to lose 50 pounds by the end of October in 2026, just before the November elections. That was all in support of the weird idea I had that there was a connection between me losing 50 pounds and the Republicans keeping control of both the House and the Senate and hopefully gaining. I have no real good logical reason for connecting the two other than that. It's just something I came up with. And the reason for 50 pounds is it gets me to a healthy weight, and there happen to be 50 states, which is probably something that caused me to start thinking about the connection. Anyway, 3 pounds in 1 week. If you recall, the previous week I hadn't lost anything. I had been close, but I didn't call it. Here's the official Hungry Strike for America sign with 3 additional stars outlined in red so that you can see them easier. And the other thing is the official Hungry Strike for America map of the country, where I've colored in Montana, South Carolina, and Kansas, because those were the 17th, 18th, and 19th states with the highest percentile voting for President Trump in 2024. So let's move on to some stuff in the political arena. I was developing some significant concerns with regard to our prospects for next year, dampening my optimistic perspective. And the reason for that dampening of my perspective was because of things like the New York Post article about J.D. Vance talking with Sean Hannity, where he said that people needed to be patient. And every now and then you're listening to people calling into radio shows about their own personal issues. For example, a gentleman from New Jersey called into an AM radio station the last couple days. He stated that he had always voted for Trump and he agrees totally with what he's doing on immigration policy and deportations, but he's having difficulty with affordability. Like I say, he lives in New Jersey, he's retired, he doesn't have a 401k, and he lives in HUD housing. And he's especially bothered by the fact that the HUD housing budget has been reduced. You know, he is somebody that the Republican Party needs to listen to. They also need to listen to the 40-year-old single man, the 40-year-old single woman, the married families. Each of the different constituents that make up the American population needs to be listened to with regard to what their immediate concerns of. And that takes me back to the J.D. Vance article. You know, if you're in an accident, you know that you're going to have possibly, if you've been injured, some long-term therapy, some long-term issues with regard to medical stuff that you have to deal with. But right then and there, you're interested in the triage, the immediate first aid, to stop the pain and make sure that you can survive to the next day. J.D. Vance's statement about being patient, something that I slightly disagree with him about. People, yes, who understand everything that's going on in the country, who have the time to delve into the intricacies of the financial world and the State Department world and that kind of stuff, the economy, they understand that things are happening right now that will result in a better future. But some people are worried about today and tomorrow. You know what? They need to be listened to. So I do have a suggestion to finish up this part on the political stuff. Speaker Johnson gave a fantastic example of what the Republican Party and the Trump administration needed to do. During the shutdown, Speaker Johnson gave a daily briefing. I don't know if they did it on Sundays, but they almost every day you could count on Speaker Johnson talking directly to the American people, answering questions from the press on the specific subject of the shutdown. And if you are a citizen of this country and you're worried about, say, housing affordability, then wouldn't it be great to talk every week about that, to listen to somebody speaking about housing affordability every week with an update? You know, if you don't hear things, you start wondering what's going on, and most human beings like myself will start thinking about the worst thing imaginable. So if we don't hear things, we get worried. So frequent communications on very specific topics repetitively every week will give us the opportunity to answer questions from reporters and to correct the internet news which is wrong. A good example would be the Epstein stuff. That was not handled, I think most of us would agree, that was not handled 100% perfect by the Trump administration. But it seems to be going in the right direction right now. The Democrats are really the focus of the issues in the Epstein documents. That's my understanding, at least. So, bottom line is, more communications. Next video, we'll be talking a lot more about elections. But now let's focus our attention on the Hungry Strike for America and how I've been losing weight. This is how I looked at the beginning of the Hungry Strike for America a few months ago at 229 pounds. I have a bad back, one bad knee, one bad shoulder, and one bad ankle. And a few years before that, this is me, just short of 260 pounds, and this is how I intend to look, at least body-wise, at the end of the Hungry Strike for America. Why do I think I can make it? Well, here's one of my favorite ever sayings. What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? That's a pretty powerful idea. Now here's a clip from a YouTube video about 600-pound life that also motivates me to do what I'm doing.
I haven't really ate nothing since I've been here.
You're not gonna fade away. You're gonna be fine.
I still have to eat something.
No. You're eating the food that belongs to the next 4 years ahead of time. So if you don't eat, you're gonna be all right. At your weight, body got the reserve that you don't need anything for a week or two. You're not gonna have anything gonna happen.
So this clip reminds me that I really don't need to eat anything for days if I didn't want to. That gets me going to make sure that I realize I shouldn't rationalize having to eat any food on any given day. And the next clip provides good information about why I need to continue on my exercise regime.
You know, people were wondering the difference between fat and protein. So do you have a model to show us this?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my favorites. So we have this representation here, and we have 5 pounds of muscle here, and then we have 5 pounds of fat right here. And you can see the size difference. And they can't believe how much smaller they're going to get if they actually lose 5 pounds of this and put on 5 pounds of that. Now, why is this important? Because muscle is an active tissue, and it burns calories even at rest. So it's really important that you get rid of fat, which does nothing for us, as you know, and we add muscle, which is then going to help us in every aspect of our life.
So you're saying having the muscle actually helps, like, feed the fire, help you have the metabolism.
Absolutely, 100%. It is active, and for every pound of muscle that you have, you increase your metabolic rate by 50 calories a day. So if you add 5 pounds of muscle, you are burning 250 calories more every day, which adds up.
That adds up.
I myself work out 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Here's the whiteboard that I use to track my exercises and the number of repetitions. And because of my joint issues, and probably because of my age, I do increase the number of reps I do and the weights I use in a very careful manner. I almost always do 3 sets. So as an example, let's say I start out at 13 repetitions per set. On Mondays, I will do 13 reps, and then add 1 to do 14 reps. On Wednesday, 13 reps, add 1 to do 14, and then 14. And on Friday, I'd be up to 14 reps for all 3 sets. And then on the following Monday, I'd start out again at 14 reps and go on from there. When I get up to 20 reps, then I will go back down to 8 or 10, depending on what's comfortable, after adding a small amount of weight. I have 1 1/4 pound weights, or sometimes 2 1/2 pound weights I add. I never add more than about 10% to the amount of weight I had already started at. But what do I eat? Well, I do love boneless ribeyes and New York strip steaks and lots of seafood. But I will admit that my go-to dinner is a boneless ribeye. And what are my snacks? Here are some of my favorite snacks. I eat anchovies right out of the can after draining the oil. Also, tomato sauced sardines and tuna, as well as smoked oysters. I do like a good salad. Always remember, the best sauce is hunger, so you really don't need to have a lot of stuff on your lettuce. And then there's artichoke hearts and asparagus. The artichoke hearts are only 90 calories. And better yet, asparagus is only 35 calories, and that's for the whole jar. Remember, any package is a single serving to me. So let's talk in pretty good detail of what I actually ate last week that gave me a loss of 3 pounds. Well, on Friday, I only ate a can of smoked oysters. That was it. No crackers or anything. I actually wanted to try to eat nothing, but I finally gave in and ate the can of smoked oysters. On Saturday, didn't eat anything till we went out to dinner. I got a garden salad, the small garden salads. I only ate about half of it. And then I had for dinner clams and mussels in a saffron sauce. Tasted great. No bread. And I had a martini. I love martinis. Came with 2 olives. I ate 1 olive. Did not drink all the martini because they gave me a great big one. But you know what? I felt good at the end of that dinner. One of the things about losing weight is the more you lose weight, the easier it is to lose weight. The more you work out, the more muscles you have, the less fat you have, and it, no pun intended, feeds on itself for you to continue losing weight. As I said in that clip, a pound of muscle uses up 50 calories a day just by being there. A pound of fat doesn't lose anything. So 5 pounds of muscle, you lose 250 calories a day. 250 calories a day, that's like another sandwich a day. So the next question is how many calories for a pound of fat? Well, I've seen multiple numbers, but it's between 3,500 to 4,000. So I use 3,500 calories. But I don't really use that too much. It's just information. I reduce the amount I eat every day, and whatever my weight loss is my weight loss. I don't eat sugars. Well, I say I don't eat sugary things. I do love citrus fruit, which has got a lot of good vitamin C and other things in it for you. And when my wife and I went down to Key West a couple weekends ago, the week I didn't lose a pound, yes, we had coconut cream pie both nights we were down there. That I love too. So that's all part of the deal, right? Have fun, but when you can, control yourself. Don't eat the bread when you go out to dinner, that type of thing. The snacks are important. I think that's about it with regard to what I ate. I will admit I do cheat sometimes with peanut butter and crackers. I try to keep that down to a minimum. And I do like little bags of popcorn. Little bags because they control how much you eat. Not that long ago, I'd eat a big bag of popcorn because, you know, 1 bag, 1 serving. Doesn't matter the size of the bag, the size of the box, the size of anything. One thing is a serving for me. So I have to go down to small servings. For me, this is something that's become more and more important. The more I lose weight, the better I feel, the more I want to lose weight. So I sincerely hope that this information has been some help to you in case you want to lose weight. I hope that the information about elections hopefully is optimistic for you. And next week, the video will be primarily about politics and the elections in 2026. Well, you know, because Thanksgiving's coming up, and I'll try to lose another pound this coming week, and not over Thanksgiving though. And having said all that stuff, thank you for watching this. Thank you for your time. And oh, by the way, you can like this on your phone or your computer or your TV set. You don't have to log in. You can just like it on your TV set. God bless you. God bless President Trump and his administration, and God bless the United States of America. See you next week. Bye.